What's going on, guys? It's Birds in the Trap, and I'm back with another video. Alright, first of all, I know I haven't uploaded in a long time, and that's because your boy is busy, right? I be working. And also, I can't lie, bro. I watch every card, right? Like, I watch every UFC card, every main event. I'm always excited. But, man, I just haven't felt very captivated enough to make videos, I'm not gonna lie. And I know not many people are going to be watching this, but that's okay. That's okay because I'm the voice. Alright, I am the voice. And I am going to spit some facts and talk about how exactly UFC 320 is going to go down. And also, I was just going to say real quick, I just tried to film this before this and pulled this up because I was going to make a point. Dude, it's been boring. Like, it's been dry recently. Like, none of these cards have really compelled me. You know, we had a pretty rough August, pretty rough September, pretty rough July, honestly. Okay, I'm being a little dramatic, but I haven't made a video since UFC 317, which I got, I think, almost all the fights right. I missed a few, but I picked Ilya, obviously. Yeah, I picked Dariush. I did well on that card. But anyways, guys, with that being said, we're going to carry that momentum into this video, and we're going to talk about UFC 320 because I have not been excited for... Well, first of all, I'm pretty excited for every pay-per-view, right? But no pay-per-view in September? Oh, God, guys, it felt like a million years since we've had a pay-per-view. And when they do them every month and you skip a month, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. All right, guys. Let's get into exactly what is going to happen. Veronica Hardy versus Brogan Walker. This is an inspiring fight. I'm picking Veronica Hardy for the same reason you're picking Veronica Hardy. Alright, I'm not going to spend too long on it, but for the unranked sector of the women's flyweight division, she is pretty good. She is a standout, and I think that's mainly because of her husband, which is her coach, which is Dan Hardy. I think Dan Hardy's got a good analysis, right? He can break down her fights, give her a good game plan. She's pretty good at executing them. She's coming off a loss, but honestly, she kind of just looked out physicality in that fight, not exactly like outskilled. But with that being said, guys, I just don't know who Brogan Walker is, and I actually feel kind of bad because Veronica Hardy is going to go in there and win it 30-27, maybe even stop her. I mean, Brogan Walker's been stopped before, so I wouldn't be surprised if Hardy catches her with something slick and fast in like the third round, but I wouldn't bank on it. I would go for the decision. Excuse me. Let's move on up to Austin Vanderford versus Ramiz Brahimaj. Okay, I think Vanderford is going to win this fight. I know a lot of people here are picking Vanderford, but he's looked dominant thus far. I don't know if he's not undefeated, you know, and he's been cracked on the Contender Series. But Ramiz Brahimaj, I know he's coming off of two flashy performances. Against who? You know, I know one of them was Mickey Gall. I forgot the second one, honestly. Who was it? I just had it up here. Billy Ray Goff. Come on, man. Oops. I'm going to be picking Vanderford to... I think he's going to do what he did in his last fight. Take him down and ground and pound him. That's what I see happening here. Ramiz Brahimaj, I just can't pick you after you lose to Themba Gorimbo and you land 3 strikes on him, because that's what this says, guys. If you can believe it. 3 significant strikes, okay? I'm picking Vanderford. Don't got to think too much about that one. Now this is a technical maestro matchup. All right, this is a hardcore fan's dream. I can't wait for this to go to the decision. I think Farid Basharat's going to win. I think both of these guys are so tit for tat, really do nothing styles that when they clash, guys, I think this fight's going to suck. There's no way this fight's a banger. There's no way there's a finish in this fight. Maybe there's a submission for Farid Basharat, but Chris Gutierrez, just no standout performance since he knocked out Frankie Edgar, which was, you know, little twitchy jitterbug Frankie Edgar. I'm picking Farid Basharat. Chris Gutierrez, neither of them are nothing special. I was about to say Chris is nothing special. Neither of them are. But I can remember Farid Basharat fights. Whereas Gutierrez, I know who he's beat. He lost to Munoz. Come on, you're losing to Munoz. Who else did he lose to? Song Yadong. That's understandable. But yeah, we're going to pick the Basharat there. Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos. I don't really have much to say about this fight at all. I'm going to pick Macy Chiasson because I remember her fights. I remember she fucking... Honestly, one of the biggest cuts I've ever seen in MMA was what she did to Mayra Bueno Silva on the Pereira card last year with Yuri. So she can do damage, right? And I think this is a step down in competition. I know she's coming off a loss to, was it Ketlin Vieira? But, Vieira would beat Santos. So, obviously. I'm going to pick Chiasson. This looks like a comeback win. Maybe even a stoppage, but again, with the other women's fight, I wouldn't bank on it. But who knows? Women's fights have been... the Contender Series fights have been good. And there's been some pretty good knockouts from the women's divisions this year. So maybe there's a stoppage here. But I'm picking Macy Chiasson by decision. Punahele Soriano versus Nikolai Veretennikov. I remember when Soriano moved down, I thought he was going to get destroyed by Uros Medic. And he destroyed Uros Medic. And honestly, it's because he should have been in this weight class. He's like a Buckley. You know what I mean? Where ladderman skill... Because ladderman skill is real. We just all need to acknowledge that firsthand. But ladderman skill usually succeeds. With like Medic, and I'm comparing him to Buckley. I just got a notification. Alright, we're good. Oh, fuck, I should cut this out. What was I saying? Veretennikov is, like... Has he won in the UFC? I think he did, right? Yeah, okay, so he's got the win against Prado, but, he lost to Vanderford. He lost on the Contender Series, I'm pretty sure. And I'm going to pick Soriano because he should have been in this division, and he's actually faster and punches harder. And I think it's because of who he's fighting, with his build. He looks like a natural 170. And he was probably fighting guys just too big, getting outpowered most of the time. I think he lost to... Was it Dustin Stoltzfus? I think he lost to Stoltzfus, which... I remember when that fight happened, I was like, wow, this guy fucking sucks. But he's actually picked it up, and I gotta give him some credit here. I'm picking him in this fight because he beat Uros Medic. Impressive victory. For now, unless he loses more. We got Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Muniz. All right, this fight, I'm gonna pick Edmund Shabazian. Let me just cut to that first of all, because I can go from there. Shabazian, I think, is going to be explosive enough. Muniz is coming off a knockout loss to Aliskerov, which... Was that in May or April? It was April or May. Not that long ago. And I think Shabazian is just going to be able to get off what he needs to before Muniz can do anything effective. All right, Muniz has lost to Paul Craig on the ground, which, it's tough because Craig's got those wins over Ank and Hill. But, come on, man. You're losing to Hill. It was 2023. 2023 you're losing to Hill? No, sorry. I said Hill. I meant to say Craig. But I'm going to pick Edmund Shabazian to TKO Andre Muniz. I think Muniz probably just won't be very responsive. I don't think he'll grapple fast enough. Shabazian, his kryptonite is when he gets to the ground, but he is pretty athletic. I think I trust him to stay at range and pick his shots. And I remember he hurt Petrosky in his last fight with a body kick. Maybe he gets Muniz with a body kick. I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay, just throwing it out there, guys. It might happen. People forget. Alright, we're moving on. This is a really interesting fight because with pretty much every other Bellator guy, even if they've lost, like Pitbull, they still give him a good... Like, Pitbull got a fight in the rankings after losing, Patchy Mix, they are giving him a UFC debutant, which is really interesting because now we have Mix as the UFC vet in this fight. But I'm going to pick Patchy Mix here. I think most people are, and understandably so. Jacob Wicklax, again, just unproven, and probably is close enough to the level of comp that Patchy Mix was beating in Bellator. I think I'm willing to say that. And I think he'll win. I've seen a ton of posts and comments being like, guillotine, guillotine. I don't know if he's going to get a fucking guillotine. I'm not picking a guillotine. But I think he will win this fight, and I think he will finish him. And I think it'll be a submission, just not a guillotine. Patchy Mix, I think, is a pretty safe pick. He's a big favorite, which, again, I don't know if I'd go that far because of how bad. But he fought Mario Batista, who unfortunately is really good, and unfortunately is pretty entertaining most of the time. Again, just not against Aldo, you know. I remember he had a good fight with Ricky Simone. But I will say I think that he robbed Damone Blackshear. Just going to put that out there. But I'm going to pick Patchy Mix. Batista was a good opponent. And definitely not someone he should have fought for his debut. And he took that fight on short notice. And just in case I don't say it until it happens, guys, he'll beat Chito Vera. Wait, is Chito... Who's Chito fighting? I'm getting totally sidetracked here. Where's it? Okay. He's fighting Zahabi. I was thinking of... Alright. I thought that Vera and Batista got rebooked. My bad. My bad. That was a little side part. Daniel Santos versus Ju Sang Yu. I'm picking Ju Sang Yu because of how sick his last KO was, and I'm actually surprised he's the underdog. If you want to say... I mean, that was his UFC debut, and it was against Jekka Saragi, who lost to Anshul Jubilee. Alright? He had a layup there, but I think he is going to be riding that high just enough to win this fight. He definitely will lose at some point, but it is his second fight in the UFC. I think I just said that, but wait, let me look at Daniel Santos. You know, yeah, no, I'm going to pick Ju Sang Yu. Don't got much to say about that one. I just see a knockout happening. It's a catchweight bout. I don't know who was about to miss weight or what happened. But do I even remember a Daniel Santos fight? Not notable enough. Alright, Ju Sang Yu. I remember him. Atiba Gautier versus Tristan Vines. Guys. What do I even... I don't need to say anything here. We know what's going down. It's just, do I pick first minute for Gautier? I don't think I'm going to pick first minute. I think I'm going to pick first round for sure. Probably first 2.5 minutes, I bet. I think he's going to find the KO pretty easily here. He is an absolute brick shit house. Oh my god, I should not have said that about Gautier. But he's big as fuck. And... man... he's from Cameroon, bro. And it shows. He looks just like Ngannou. But in fucking middleweight, which is insane. So I'm going to be picking him to KO Vines in the first 2 minutes, I bet. I'll say this. If this leaves the first round... my expectations for Gautier have changed. He will have to make some big improvements. Because when you look like that in the middleweight division, you just should be finishing everyone at that level. Obviously, he can lose when he moves up in comp. Alright. This is where things get fun, guys. I live for this. I live for MMA. This is a sick fight, honestly. Magomedov, coming off that win, was his last fight against Bruno Ferreira? I think it was. I want to say that. No, it was Michel Pereira. Oh, they had a terrible fight. No wonder I forgot. I forgot about that fight. But I'm picking Bruno Ferreira. I really like Bruno Ferreira. And the fact that Abus beat him, it was impressive, and it shocked me in the moment. Joe Pyfer coming off the underwhelming performance against Gastelum. But if Gastelum was really any other fighter, he'd probably be finished in the second round, and we'd be talking about that different. He is on a 2-fight win streak. I think people forget, man. He slept Barry Ute. He was talking like he had just lost to Hermanson, like, after the fight. So I think people forget that he's shown that power. And I know it's Marc-Andre Barriou, but, jeez, what the fuck? My bad, y'all. Something in my personal life really interesting just happened. But I'm ready to get right the fuck back into this. Come on now. Who do you think you're talking to? I have the script for this fight in front of me. Joe Pyfer's gonna win. Joe Pyfer's gonna TKO Abus. And Abus, to be fair, has really turned out to not be, like, absolutely terrible. Because I remember after these two fights right here, it's, you know, Strickland's a champ, Brawley's a top contender. They're not bad in hindsight. But when they happened, I was like, oh no. And especially how he looked in them too, you know what I mean? But since then, he's on a 3-fight win streak. Didn't look impressive against Alves or Pereira, to be fair. But like I said, Bruno Ferreira, to beat him, great win, in my opinion. Well, for the unranked sector, right? But Joe Pyfer's got that nasty power, all right? And I think he's going to win this fight. So let's move on. Josh Emmett versus Yusuf Zalal. This is going to be the Calvin Kattar... Jesus Christ. This is going to be the Calvin Kattar fight part 2. Emmett, man. Emmett is such an interesting figure. This beard is insane. But Emmett is just a one-punch merchant. One-trick pony. And he's only getting older, only getting slower. He's just not going to win this fight, I don't think. Yusuf Zalal is actually pretty good. We can talk about that. He's on a win streak. How many has he won in a row? Obviously, he fought Topuria and didn't get absolutely slept, so that was good. But, 3 finishes and a win over Kattar, which, honestly, I don't think was as bad as everyone is saying. He ran the third round. He did, and he lost that round, but I don't think he's a dangerous guy. You know what I mean? So if he has to go in there and win his fights, he's going to have to do it like that. Because what the fuck else is he going to do? He's got... Yeah, that's a fair assessment of what I'm thinking, I would say. I'm picking Yusuf Zalal by decision. And with that being said... Whoa. Yeah. Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. Yuri Prochazka is one of my favorite fighters, guys. I'm obviously picking him to win. Look at the records. Yuri's had twice as many fights. Khalil doesn't deserve custom shorts, first of all. Yuri should have them, if anything. But with that being said, I'm hoping for an all-out war. I'm hoping for a brawl. And obviously it's pretty likely. But I don't really want a round 1 KO here. I think Khalil Roundtree is going to go out there and win the first round. He's going to look faster. Yuri's going to be a little stupid in there. He's going to feel the punches to feel the power. And I think eventually, though, in the second round, let's go for that. He's going to go for that. And I think he's going to really start to batter Khalil and bust him up. Khalil's got a lot of scar tissue from that Pereira fight. And with the way Yuri elbows, I honestly can see him opening the same cuts. I also think Yuri has a grappling advantage and a bit of a physicality advantage. Not that he would purposely take the fight there, but I think in a damaging sequence, he could use his grappling fundamentals, right? You get what I'm saying? And Khalil Roundtree, he's fast, he's snappy, but he didn't finish Jamal Hill. Don't get me wrong, he beat him up and looked good, but people inflate the Pereira fight like crazy, man. Khalil lost the first round, he won the second round, he was winning a little bit of the third round, and then he lost the third round because he got busted up, and then he got finished in the fourth. What is there to talk about? He won 1 round against Pereira. Okay. You could say Yuri won a round. You could literally say Yuri won a round against Pereira in their first fight. I don't think so. I think the leg kicks did enough. I'm just gonna say it. But that's how this goes, man. Yuri is gonna get into that flow state. He's gonna get in a brawl. He's gonna get hit and feel the power. And I think he's gonna bust Khalil up, finish him in the third. But will face adversity early. I trust him though. He looked terrible in the fight with Rakic in the first round, and I remember thinking there was a moment where Yuri got his leg kicked, and I was like, oh no, he lost. He already lost. But Yuri's a fucking... I love Yuri, guys. I love Yuri Prochazka. I love him when he's fighting anyone but my boy. Anyone but that guy. But even then, I root for him. I wanted him to beat Pereira in the second fight and then have a trilogy where Pereira wins it back. But that's dreamland. Absolute fucking banger. Are you kidding me? Co-main event. The UFC's been so bad where this is usually like the main event. And that's fine. This could be the main event. I don't know about that. Hey, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say that. But this is what we've become used to. Having 2 male title fights on a card is actually insane. And I'm really, really excited. But Merab is a perfect co-main event guy. You can put him on a weaker pay-per-view as a headliner in like the middle of the year. But that early January, that October, put him on the co-main, you got a fire card. And he's fighting... Why is it not loading, man? Come on. What is going on here? Oh, sorry, guys. Jesus. Corey Sandhagen, I don't think is going to win this fight. I'm going to make that clear. Just flat out right. Now, the debate I'm having within myself is, do I pick Merab by a finish? Do I pick him by a finish? Because Merab seems like the type of guy where if he wasn't training that really before, which his coaches have said he wasn't really drilling like that. If he was the type to be so good already, and now you're mixing in him learning actual finishing techniques that he executed in his last fight and is only going to get better from, dude, I kind of want to pick Merab by finish. But Sandhagen is a high-level fighter, and I'm going to play it safe, and I think I'm going to pick Merab by decision. However, I think it's going to be a dominant decision. Hey, I'm going to say this, guys. With Pantoja and Kai Kara France, everyone was saying 48-47, 48-47, and I was out there saying, nah, he's going to sub him. Look what happened. It's because I have the script. God, am I going to pick him to sub him? I don't think so, but I think he's going to win a 49-46 with 150-45. But if Sandhagen wins a round, it's going to be kind of a stretch because I think Merab will be active enough where it's going to have to be like, he outstruck him, but Merab didn't even control him more because Merab doesn't control guys. Merab threw himself at him more, so we'll give it to Merab. It could be one of those situations, you know what I mean? But I'm going to pick Merab to retain his belt and win pretty dominantly here. If he finishes him on the ground, I would not be shocked. And you shouldn't be either. And you definitely shouldn't be picking a 48-47. Sandhagen has a Masvidal flying knee chance. So, and that hasn't happened to Merab yet. But maybe Sandman does it. It'd be cool. We'll see. I like Merab, though. I like Merab. You know who I really like? Alex Poatan Pereira. I like to think that I'm not one of these cringy Glazer Alex Pereira fans because I'm not. I don't let that shit seep into my personal life. Okay, I have one Pereira shirt, but I bought it at a store. Like, I was there and I saw it. And I wear it when he fights. Alright, I'm not afraid to admit it. I love Alex Pereira. He's my boy. He's awesome. And I'm not one of these Ankalaev haters. I don't even hate Ankalaev like that, really. But, I mean, come on, man. Look at the two. I would much rather Pereira be the active champion that will be active, you know what I mean? And it is what it is, really. And I'm talking like this because I think Ankalaev is going to keep his belt. And I've had a horrifying image of Magomed KOing Pereira. And that would be absolutely terrible. I would not like that one bit. But after the first fight and the trend of both of them, Ankalaev is younger and on obviously the momentum streak, whereas Pereira is going to have to be working extra hard to gain that back. It's tough. Pereira's got a new look for this fight. Looks cool. I like it. I'm going to say this, guys, only in case it comes true. The last few days, while I'm at work, I have had an overwhelming sensation of Pereira round 2 knockout. Pereira round 2 knockout. Is that the glaze in me? Is it the fan in me? It might just be. But just in case it happens, I'm gonna go out and say that Pereira slumps him in the second round. But it's not a confident pick. The confident pick is Ankalaev, and I'm picking him to retain his belt. I'm not an Ankalaev hater. I'm just an Alex Pereira fan. And Ankalaev is honestly, he's good. Like, he sucks at promoting himself and really doing anything outside of the octagon. But other than that, he's a good fighter. And definitely needs to start getting some finishes in these title fights, though. Otherwise, he is going to be an absolute stinker. And if you have a problem with me saying that, fuck you. Like, come on. Any fan of the sport that's an actual fan of the sport and isn't just a contrarian, or maybe if you're Russian, that can be the case too. Anyone out west here in the USA is picking Alex Pereira, or prefers Alex Pereira, sorry. And that's UFC 320, guys. I absolutely can't wait for this card. Like I said, feels like the UFC's been in a drought, and we're finally back. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed my predictions. I know these videos are super random, and this one especially. I had to take a few pauses in there, but it is what it is, man. I just do this because I love the UFC and I love these fighters. So yeah, guys, I think all that is going to come true. And that's it.